We all know how important reputation is in this industry, so it's easy to see why more and more pros are turning to Andersen to build their projects and craft their legacies. Andersen has earned the trust of pros time and time again for over 120 years. They will work with you to build more efficiently, stay on budget, and earn more referrals by providing high-quality products and support, making your installs easier and confidence stronger. See how Andersen can help you craft your legacy at trustandersen.com. Join us this September 18th and 19th at the beautiful Endicott College campus in Beverly, Massachusetts for the Fine Homebuilding Summit, where the best minds in residential design and construction come together. This premier two-day event is all about elevating the way we design, build, and run successful, inspiring construction businesses. You'll hear from some of the most respected leaders in the industry as they share insights on the future of home building. You'll experience engaging sessions, interactive roundtable discussions, supplier exhibits, and hands-on networking. We'll also be recording a Fine Homebuilding Podcast live from the summit floor. Head over to summit.finehomebuilding.com to register today. Use the promo code FHB Podcast for $50 off the two-day all-access ticket. Can't wait to see you there. Hi, podcast listeners. Today's episode is a best-of compilation pulled from the Fine Homebuilding Podcast archives. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Enjoy. Welcome to the Fine Homebuilding Podcast, our weekly discussion of building, remodeling, and design topics aimed at anybody who cares deeply about the craft and science of working on houses. This is Senior Editor Patrick McComb. I'm joined by Kylie Jacques, Design Editor.
Hello.
Matt Milham, Deputy Editor.
What up?
And producer Jeff Rose.
Hello.
Please email us your questions to fhbpodcast@taunton.com. You can find previous podcasts and check out the show notes at finehomebuilding.com/podcast. Hello, podcast. While recently considering a new home for our family, I noticed that the cellar door, the bulkhead door, had no insulation or weather stripping, which I found pretty shocking. This one in particular was in good shape, having been installed recently, but shouldn't a steel exterior door have weather stripping and insulation? In Zone 6, what would you recommend as the best way to insulate and air seal to help keep this basement and the house more comfortable? So this is one of those things that when I see, I want to lose my mind. Right?
Yeah.
A bulkhead door is not meant to be the separation between the indoors and outdoors. It's meant to keep water out of the hole in the ground that leads to the real door that should be in the basement that is apparently not here.
Exactly.
So,
like, you can air seal it as well as you want. That thing is still
it's
like
a steel radiator.
Yeah. It's going to suck all of the heat out of that space and radiate it to the outside.
Yes. So the answer is to put an entry door in the opening at the bottom of the bulkhead basement way.
And make sure it closes. I have such a door that it won't stay closed.
Yeah.
So it's useless.
The one really annoying thing.
You need to fix that.
I know I do.
Yeah.
I know.
For security too.
Well,
they can't get into the house.
They can't get into the house. There's nothing in the basement.
You're going to have squatters living in there. You're going to have people in the basement.
It's very irritating that the door doesn't close. I've done everything I can think of to try to make it close. It's short of getting a new door, and it's just
it just needs a hardware adjustment.
You think?
Yeah.
Did I show it to you?
No.
Oh.
But it's probably not
I'm sure we can fix
But
this.
you're right. I mean, it's like it's useless to even have it if you're not going to be able to seal it.
Yeah. But I have come across this because I lived in a house like this where it wasn't really designed with all of this sort of like accounted for, like the fact that you need that door at the bottom. And it had the door at the bottom. It had a man door, an insulated steel door at the bottom of the stairs into the basement. But there was no landing, and so you had to like basically reach way down to grab the knob for this thing.
Yeah.
And so, what do? You basically just build a little box inside, kind of.
I think you just struggle with it and just like treat it as a door you don't use very often, right?
Yeah.
It's like meant to get the water heater or the boiler out of the basement. It's not meant to like come into your house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's what.
Yeah, but I mean, it can be annoying if there's not really space there for that door. You know, if it wasn't considered before you put that bulkhead door in and somebody thought like the bulkhead door is going to be the door, then it can be a little bit of a pain to retrofit. You may end up losing some basement space in order to make that a comfortable door to use.
I like your solution of bringing the door inside the basement and having a little like vestibule there or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And I'm very cavalier about saying you need a door there, and the problem is they're often odd sized, right? They're not full height. So, but you can cut down a steel door. The new Diablo Steel Demon circular saw blades cut steel doors like butter. I know because I did it for a photo that we had in the magazine on entry doors, right? We had a corner section, and I cut it myself, and it's super easy. So you cut the top, not the bottom, because you need the bottom to have the weather stripping, right? And the top, you can have just the foam, or you can dig out the foam and put wood back in there, and it seals against the weather strip on the head jamb. And you cut down the side jambs and put the head jamb back on, and you're done.
Did you run that blade in a regular circ saw? Or
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know they make metal cutting circular saws
They
too
do.
that run
They
at
do.
a different RPM.
They're slower.
Right? Yeah.
And they do a better job of collecting the chips. And I can tell you that the freaking red hot chips spraying onto your arm are kind of fun.
Yeah, they kind of have like a hood over it that kind of like prevents all that from flying around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't you always recommend using an old circ saw if you're going to be cutting metal? Don't you guys always say that?
I do that for masonry stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, because I do just run like a masonry blade in a really old skill saw. But
I don't care. I've had my hypoid Makita saw since 1994. So, I mean, like, if I haven't killed it yet, it's fine.
yeah.
You
Those
might
things
be the
run-
most economical guy I've ever met.
Well, I mean, I don't use it every day like people who do, right? Who frame houses, but it's gotten a lot of use, especially when I was younger. That stuff just lasts forever. Those Makita saws are legendary. And the 5007, the Sidewinder version, I mean, those people use those for 10 years every day. Amazing. Do you think we answered this question adequately? You need a door there.
Yeah.
Put a real door.
Or your other option, just fill the entire space underneath
Spray
the
foam.
bulkhead doors with spray foam and forget about it.
Foam packing peanuts, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Even if you do something seasonally, right? Like the winter, you scrub a piece of plywood with foam insulation on it, or just something like that. It's going to be better than what you got.
Yeah, but you'd want that probably flush with the top of whatever sort of like foundation is
Yes.
supporting that door rather than on the door, on the bulkhead door, I mean.
No,
right?
I meant on the
Or on
opening,
the interior
and
of
the
the
hole
opening.
through the foundation.
Yeah,
if you could put it over that.
Yep. Even better.
Yeah.
We
That
could
drives
do
me
that.
crazy.
We could do that at my house for a
Yeah.
story. That'd be a good little something.
Yes.
2-pager.
Making your own basement door.
Well, sealing off your
Yeah.
bulkhead.
It's a problem. Hello, FHB Podcast. My wife and I recently started construction on a small house near Bend, Oregon. It's 1,300 square feet, slab on grade with smooth concrete floors, SIP panels for the east wall, SIP panels except for the east wall, which is 2x6 because of the number of windows. The 12-inch thick SIP walls have a 2.5/12 single pitch shed roof. Mini splits are used for heating and cooling, and a Zender, right?
I always say Zender. I have no idea how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Zender ERV. Exterior finish will be either fiber cement panels or a combination of metal shiplap siding and corrugated metal with metal standing seam roofing. My question is how to detail the roofing installation. SIP roofs are more sensitive to trap moisture than a vented roof assembly, so we'll be careful with air sealing the interior. For the roof assembly, I'm planning OSB, vapor permeable underlayment, 2x4 or 2x4 strapping, 24-inch parallel to the eaves, or a grid of 1x4s on 24-inch grids, and then the standing seam roofing. How do people seal the nail penetration through the WRB when installing metal roofing? Solatex advertises double-sided butyl tape. I haven't found out what other companies recommend. Let's start tackling these questions one at a time. So, for starters, a standing seam metal roof is really watertight, especially if the standing seams are field crimped. Right, you can, on a commercial roof, you can put that down to 1/2 in 12 and not worry about water intrusion because the mechanical sealing between the panels makes it virtually watertight.
But you seal the top of those with like butyl tape or something like that.
They're crimped with a machine.
So you don't have to seal the top?
No.
Really?
So like I really wouldn't worry about that. Frankly, it's a super tight roofing system already.
Yeah.
you do need high temperature underlayment under metal roofing panels because it gets very hot. And I've heard anecdotally of lesser products turning into like tar stalagmites at the eaves where the stuff melts and is like dripping out.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So you don't want that. But I would not worry about sealing the nail holes in the WRB. I think you're totally on base when you say the bigger problem is air sealing the inside, because there were tons of failures in Alaska, especially in they use SIP construction in Alaska because it's efficient and fast. You have a very short construction season, so you need to get buildings up and dried in quickly. But the trade-off there is you have to be very diligent about sealing the seams, especially in a cold place like Alaska, because warm interior air wants to get into those seams. It hits the exterior sheathing and rots all the skin on the SIP panel. So.
Right. That is as far as I understand, like the main cause of all of the SIP failures is air leakage from the inside. Warm, moist air leaking out through the seams and the panels, condensing on the first cold surface. It
which
can
is
actually
the
condense
roof,
on, which is the exterior OSB, and then it just sits there and it rots it.
And good manufacturers provide gaskets between their SIP panels. The lesser products have splines, and you're supposed to foam in there. And perhaps the best thing to do is to use a drywall sealing and make sure it's completely without interruption or seams or can lights or any other things that could allow warm, moist interior air to get up to that OSB outer layer.
Yeah. But tape it.
Tape it. It's really the thing to worry about. I don't think you have to worry about the roof.
Yeah.
Is ice and water shield necessary near the bottom of the roof or the gable edges? It can't hurt. I would do what the metal roofing manufacturer tells you to do. My guess is they have pretty specific recommendations, and it's going to be a synthetic roof underlayment, and they're going to tell you to put it everywhere.
Yeah.
How does the dry environment high desert change WRB perm requirements? It doesn't matter because the metal roofing is impermeable, so whatever you put underneath it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. The dry climate of Bend is going to work in your favor anyway.
I would say, GBA, I think, talks about this all the time, or people go to GBA, Green Building Advisor, to like talk about SIP panels and SIP failures and, fixing previous SIP failures and stuff all the time. And I found sort of like a 4-point plan that, sort of like gets at like how to avoid some of these problems. And basically it was, taping all of the interior and exterior seams. They talk about specific tapes if you want to look at all that.
Recommendation?
For the exterior panel seams with vapor permeable tape like Sega Wiglove. They want a vapor permeable roof membrane. They recommended Sega Madge Coat. Make sure there's an airspace between the roofing and the membrane. They're recommending either 1 or 2 by sleepers or furring, basically to create an air gap between the membrane and the standing seam.
I'm glad you bring that up because this is going to come up later in another question later on in the show with regard to detailing outsulation on a roof in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And you can put metal roofing on purlins like that, but you need to talk to the metal roofing manufacturer because most residential panels are made to go on a OSB or plywood substrate. They have much thicker panels that are designed to be on purlins, but the residential panels are not made to go on those. So if you want to do that assembly, and I will concede that it's going to be more resilient, you're going to have to get the right roofing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, put the residential panels right on the roof sheathing and don't worry about it.
Yeah. And then their 4th point was to seal and tape all interior seams with spray foam and good quality tape. Yeah. And some people just use zip tape.
Okay.
Yep.
What do you think about SIP panels?
They scare me a little bit just because of I've heard of the failures.
Yeah.
I like the idea, and I've seen some really cool houses with them. Some really tall houses. I did not know that you could go as tall as you can with some of these.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
They seem popular in the tiny house community. People build with those a lot.
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wonder why.
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask.
Huh. So my only experience with SIP panels was a feature I did for another magazine many years ago, and this gentleman tried to put a hose rack on his side of his house and drilled a hole through the siding And he's like, well, it doesn't feel like there's much back there. So he stuck a screwdriver in the hole, and like it reached all the way into the house, which is how he learned that all the OSB was rotting on the southern exposure of his home, because the builder had installed cedar lap siding over Tyvek, and the extractives in the cedar make the material of the Tyvek way more water permeable.
Yeah.
And then it gets through the Tyvek, hits the OSB, and this action is constant because of solar vapor drive, right? It's going from more to less, or wants to go from more to less, so it gets that OSB and just stays there.
Yeah.
And this guy needed to do 6 figures of remediation work to fix his house.
Oh, just that one side?
They did the whole house. The south side was overwhelmingly the worst. The other sides were not nearly as bad because of the solar vapor drive, I'm sure.
Man.
So you got to know what you're doing if you're using SIP panels. Make sure you use, you should really put it on a ventilated, your siding on a ventilated rain screen, I would say.
Yeah. But also there's not as much risk if you're in a warmer climate zone, but if you're in a lot of these, like this 4-point plan was, and this sort of 4-point plan, I think, was probably more geared toward like zones 5 through 8, and Bend is in zone 5. So even though it's dry,
it's cold.
It's going to be cold in the winter, and you're going to have much moister air inside in the winter too.
Yes. The house looks great. We have some photos of it. If those of you who are interested can see that on our podcast page. It's a good-looking house. This is Senior Editor Patrick McComb. I'm joined by Deputy Editor Matt Milham.
Hello.
Rob Wadsack, Digital Brand Manager.
Hello.
And Jeff Rose, Producer.
Hello.
So earlier in the week, Kylie sent me a link to a very interesting story describing how the fire at Notre Dame has created a renewed demand for stone carvers. And I suspect it's probably for a whole host of other trades related to construction in the Middle Ages, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it was July 20th, NPR ran this weekend edition story where they visit the stone workshop at Hector Guimard High School, where the students are training for a degree in stone carving that allows them to work on France's historic monuments. So it's an interesting story, and there's photos on the NPR website that show these people making Corinthian column bases from, I presume it's limestone, and it is pretty darn impressive.
Yeah.
You look at cut stone in some of these elaborate buildings, and it just, I think
Can you imagine how many people were employed building Notre Dame? Like, it's mind-boggling. The place is immense. And every one of those stones, like, started out in a quarry and then was made into this amazing thing.
And think about the tools they had to cut huge slabs of stone back then. It's like, I mean, now we got these huge,
That's a really good point. So how did you
cut
a hunk of stone out of the ground?
I mean, I know I've seen stuff like this before. I mean, sometimes they'd be shearing it off. So they'd be boring holes and chiseling to shear the slabs off. But I think there definitely were some kinds of
mechanized saws.
Yeah.
But you didn't have steel. You had iron, but not steel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. There's so many technical things. You know me. I'm interested in so many different things. And I understand. If I look at something, I can understand how it was made. But I think I need to go to one of these schools because I really have no clue what amount of work goes into making those beautiful pieces of stone.
It's interesting you say this, the technology's improved, but like these folks are actually making the stones with the same tools that they would have used in the Middle Ages. That part has not changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think.
No, I mean, once you get the slab, the only way to do what they're doing is with chisels and hammers. You should talk to is John from Woodworking, because he went over to Greece, I think it was.
Yeah, to learn stone carving.
To learn stone carving, yeah. But
he was carving marble.
Yeah. So now,
what?
I mean, at least they're softer stones. They're not carving granite,
right?
Yeah,
which would be slightly harder, I would think. Basalt, tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do people carve this basalt?
I imagine they
People
do.
Carve anything.
Yeah. I mean,
if you can imagine something can be done, there's somebody out there doing it.
Yeah. The Pantheon in Rome has these huge granite columns that have probably sat there for 2,000 years and still look shiny and brand new.
It's awesome.
They're insane.
How big are those, Matt?
I don't know. Probably got to be at least 60 feet tall.
And how big
taller.
around?
I mean, you couldn't.
You couldn't reach around
You
them.
couldn't reach around them.
That's amazing.
Probably 2 or 3 people would take at least.
Wow.
So there's a park in downtown Washington Depot, a couple of not too many miles away from here in Connecticut, that some, I think, local artist had installed this giant granite, I believe it is. It's a sculpture, but it's kind of a bench. Like it has all these. It's like a big inchworm or something like that. I mean, it's this huge undulating, perfectly polished slab of granite with all these divots and hollows in it, and his work encourages people to climb and sit on it because it's almost like these built-in lounges.
And you can't break it.
No, you can't break it. But I mean, he uses angle grinders and just grinds and polishes these things. I'm sure he uses chisels to cleave off some of the bigger pieces, I would imagine, but or jackhammers maybe, I don't know. but I mean, people do it.
Have you guys done any stone carving?
Nope.
No.
I'm surprised you're not planning that for your next project.
I've considered doing some stuff like that. I've watched some videos. I know a little bit about it, but I've never done it.
I've flamed the edges on some granite steps before, but that's about as close I come to stone carving.
Yeah.
But
I can see maybe this is Carol's next interest.
yeah, I can see that. She's got the
stone thing going.
Whenever like an artisan brings on an apprentice, usually the first thing they do is have them do some basic task like
a sphere.
100 times. No, but it's just like make 100 cuts. Oh, she's done that already, right? Yeah. So I wanted to say something because you pointed out that it's reinvigorating this demand for artisans. Yes. Well, in our latest issue of Fine Homebuilding, the Keep Craft Alive piece is on Bruno Sutter, he's at the American College of Building Arts. Where is that? That's down in
Georgia, right?
Georgia?
I don't know.
But
Don't
anyway,
quote me on that. He's going to be mad if I get that wrong.
I know. Well, so the thing is, that college was started because
it's in Charleston.
Yeah.
Charleston.
It's in Charleston.
Yeah.
Because of the hurricane damage in Charleston.
And they needed artisans to...
15, 20 years ago, was it?
It was not that long ago, but it's been a while.
Yeah, but so basically they realized they just did not have the expertise to restore all these damaged old colonial homes.
Yeah, and Charleston has a lot of masonry.
Yeah, so, but they have everything. You can go to this school and get a degree in stone carving and timber framing and an actual, college degree in pretty much any trade associated with restoring those homes down in Charleston.
Cool. Boy, so we got a question on our YouTube channel. So thanks to Cantankerous Dave, who's weighed in on a couple conversations, but he also had a question that he put up on the YouTube. In episode 188, you talked about how the wall sheathing to foundation transition is a difficult area to air seal. How would you go about addressing the problem, this problem transition area? Can anything be done after the fact? It sounds a lot like what I've got going on in an extension built off the house I bought. So I have the perfect solution for this. If you're doing a new build, Protecto Wrap Triple Guard Energy Seal Sealer is the way to solve this problem.
That's the T-shaped stuff?
Yeah, so it's Still Seal is a foam product that goes between the foundation and the mudsill. And it does a couple things. A, it's meant to stop air leakage, and it's also a capillary break between the foundation and the wood components of the house. It stops water movement. And it works okay, but it doesn't do anything to solve the wall transition, right, from foundation to sheathing. But this product, which has a couple flaps on it, one laps down onto the foundation and one goes up onto the sheathing. I personally think this should be put in the code as a requirement for new construction because this is a notoriously leaky spot, and this is an elegant solution that doesn't really screw up the normal construction process. All three of the legs have individual
release sheets,
release tape,
yeah.
So you can build in the right order and not have the
stuff getting stuck on everything.
Yeah, stuck on and stuff. So
there's fluid applied products too that are kind of like made for this. I think Proseco. I don't know how to say it.
Prosecco?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Prosecco?
They like make it. I think it's Argard.
What are you laughing at? Did I say that wrong? Prosecco is a liquor?
Yeah. It's like
it's like a wine.
Like champagne kind
yeah.
of.
That's not going to seal anything.
But anyway, yeah, that's like you just sort
Brush
of
it on.
gun that in.
Can you do it after the sheathing is up and the siding?
Yeah, you do it after the sheathing. I don't know if you can do it after the siding. So, I mean, this particular solution I don't think will work on a
Retrofit, no.
on a retrofit.
You can't do
so, yeah.
But it brings up a good point. You mentioned capillary breaks. You know, we were talking about wetting and drying potential. I wonder how many people out there are aware of the risk of capillary action from masonry up to the walls, because that is a nice feature of this material, is that you are actually preventing anything from wicking up into the framing.
If we go from that more to less conversation that we had earlier, once again, water is always moving from more to less. So that foundation wall, which is in constant contact with the soil, which is loaded with moisture, is always taking it up and giving it off on the other side of the basement, which is why it's so important to have either damp proofing or some kind of capillary break on the outside of the foundation wall, like those dimple mat membranes are great, or the fiberglass products, whatever. It decouples that moisture source. And the same thing happens, it goes up into the framing of the house, going through the top of the foundation wall similarly. So you need to isolate that.
Yeah.
And the tough thing is when you're doing a remodel, especially on an older house where there aren't any capillary breaks, and you're taking an assembly that used to dry pretty well on its own, and whenever you start tightening things up, you got to always worry about, are you making a dangerous situation in a spot like this?
Increase the vapor, the humidity inside the house.
Because the tighter I've made my old house, I've definitely made my basement damper, which means I'm at more risk for my sills
Rotting.
Yeah.
To answer your question, Cantankerous Dave, boy, there's not an easy way to deal with that in an existing structure except to lie on your back and get some kind of urethane-based construction adhesive and try and squirt it in that gap, which sounds detestable, especially if your siding is close to grade, right? If you have a couple feet there, it wouldn't be as bad if it's a few inches. But yeah, that's the only thing you can do. It might be easier to remove some of the siding if that's an option to deal with this transition. Vinyl would be super easy. Lap siding, less so.
Yeah, and it also depends. I mean,
brick, not going to happen.
How much access you have from the inside? I mean,
how are you going to fix it from the inside?
Well, if we're talking about air sealing here.
I know. So we're sealing the sheathing layer to the foundation. How are you going to fix that from the interior?
I'm just talking about if you went into your band joist and your sill plates where they meet the foundation, you can certainly potentially do some stuff there.
I don't know if that's going to be as helpful, because I think on the exterior, air leakage is going to still like travel beyond the bottom plate into the stud cavities, and then it could go anywhere, right? So you got to seal that gap, I think, on the outside. Tapes would be great, but it's going to show. You can't do that. Yeah. And do you have any other thoughts on that?
No. I just like a gunnable solution.
Yeah. So like...
Well, I mean, because this thing, I think it's an elegant solution, but there's so much stuff going on at a job site. Like the chances of it getting damaged, I think, are pretty high. Plus, you have to, like, a lot of people will overhang the sheathing a little bit, past that bottom plate, and I don't know how that's going to work there.
I think you're going to have to hang it even lower because you want to cover up that tape. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to hang it down an inch or two.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a problem?
I don't know. But that looks a little unconventional.
Oh, it's unconventional.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to it, the dealing with remodels is existing conditions. It's always so much harder. And it's really the specific conditions you find yourself in are going to dictate how effective the various options are.
It's so much easier to do stuff right the first time, but that doesn't always happen. This is Senior Editor Patrick McComb. I'm joined by Design Editor Kylie Jacques.
Hello.
Editorial Director Justin Fink.
Hello.
And Producer Jeff Rose.
Hello.
You can find previous podcasts and check out the show notes at finehomebuilding.com/podcast. Thanks for being on the show on short order, Justin.
Sure. I'm not really making fun of you, Kylie. I just thought
try something different.
I'm going to do the show in a different voice.
I didn't take it personally.
Hello, FHB Podcast team. Greetings from Cincinnati, Ohio. My wife and I purchased a house back in November with a plan of a 3-month renovation time, but here we are in August, 10 months later, and we're still working on things. I don't know if that means he's moved in.
3 months? What were you thinking?
I know.
I know. But we all do that, right? Even pros do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He says he's moving on before he gets too depressed. The house is a simple 950 square foot single-story ranch on a crawl space. We increased the ceiling height by raising the ceiling joist, so now there's a section of flat ceiling in the center and sloping ceilings along the eave walls. Do you guys get that? Mm-hmm. So we moved up the roof plane, but that left some sloping ceilings on above the walls. We had a new roof put on almost immediately after buying the place. I'm planning to blow in lots of loose fill cellulose into the attic post drywall. However, there are a few can lights installed in the sloping ceiling and living room kitchen spaces. I'm worried I won't be able to blow insulation past these cans. I think installing 6-inch fiberglass bats in the rafter bays with the cans before drywall may be my best bet. Feel free to suggest another idea if this is misguided. So there's another part of this question, but let's talk about putting can lights in insulated ceilings.
Okay.
Don't you guys always say don't put can lights? And
Yeah, it's like a
chimney.
Yeah, it's like communicating. The best way to communicate your indoor space with your outdoors.
They're always
put
a
tunnel.
problem. They're always a problem.
Yeah, don't do it.
I mean, I have them in my house. I didn't do it, but I can tell you that the snow melts above them immediately because even if they're off, right? It's just a huge thermal hole. It's a hole.
Yep.
That's where insulation is not.
Yes. I would say, how desperately do you need lights in that slope ceiling?
I say put the freaking surface-mounted ones that are available that look just
Wait,
like a can light.
aren't they already in? Or is he adding them?
He is, and he sent us a photo, and he's got the can lights roughed into the ceiling.
Oh, okay.
You can probably still return those.
Take them out, put a regular junction box in there, and use these Lithonia products.
I have those on my porch, that kind of thing, the LED ones.
Yeah.
They're awesome. The only hassle there, which is if one goes out, and one of mine did, you're replacing the whole fixture. And it becomes do they still make that same model?
And is it going to be the same color as the other ones?
There's trade-offs.
Yeah.
How long did it last?
It seemed like it was a fluke.
Oh, okay.
Like it just went bad because the other ones are fine because it went out pretty quick, like within months.
I'll put a
Still
link.
haven't changed it, by the way.
Who did?
I still haven't changed it.
I'll put a link to the product I found on the on our podcast page that I've heard people really like because of its color and durability. Apparently, the early versions of some of these were kind of flimsy, so this was a good one. And it's Lightalier, I believe, slim surface LED. But that solves that problem elegantly, and you don't have this. Now you don't have the insulation problem, also, right? So don't do that. Okay. Next part is, this brings me to roof ventilation. My roof has a ridge vent for 60 to 75% of the ridge and gable vents on either side near the peak of the roof. I guess he's saying on the gable ends he has gable vents. I discovered after gutting everything that there are no soffit vents. I originally planned on cutting 2 3-inch holes to create soffit vents along with the requisite baffles in each bay. However, the overhangs on the front and back of the house were constructed as an addition and therefore extend below the interior ceiling plane. So he has an applied overhang, right? So that makes it so he can't drill through this thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. The top 2x4 ledger of these overhangs matches up with a bit of the plank siding just above my top plates.
We have photos of this, Jeff? We don't have shots
I'm
of this?
sorry, we do not. Okay,
This is a tough one to picture.
So he's got an applied overhang and board sheathing going up, and there's just enough room to drill holes without hitting the roof overhang and the ledger for the soffits.
So is this essentially... Okay.
You understand?
I gotcha.
So there's a little gap of sheathing that's about 1 inch tall, and he could drill 1-inch holes there.
Yep.
Okay. Using Owens Corning's ventilation calculator recommends I have about 440 square inches of soffit ventilation, or at a minimum 220 square inches. Given 60 joist bays, I would need to drill between 10 and 5 1-inch holes in each bay. And yes, I am an engineer. So I did the math check, and if you take 440 square inches and divide it by 60, that tells you that you need approximately 7.3 inches per bay, or about 10 holes at the max, or at the minimum 5. So I see no problem with that. He says drilling is tricky due to various obstacles, but I think my best option is to drill the 5 to 10 holes in each bay. So my complete solution is drill the holes above the top plate, install ventilation baffles, use fiberglass bats below the cans in the slope ceiling, and blow in insulation for the rest. Any other ideas I could consider? If there is a viable solution that didn't involve drilling all these holes, I'm all ears. As this project has dragged on, budget is obviously fairly tight, and replacing the roof with outsulation is a non-starter. After spending every spare moment for 9 months, my main concern is longevity, i.e. I don't want rotting roof sheathing, even at the cost of a slight energy efficiency hit. I do plan to air seal the can lights and other ceiling plane penetrations. Bam. What do you think?
I think I would not go that route.
What do you say? You going to spray foam it?
Well, I don't like to go right to the spray foam solution. I feel like it's a little heavy-handed sometimes. It does a great job, and it would solve his problem in this case very nicely.
Yep. What are you going to do? Unvented?
Yeah, well, another option is you could do roof deck venting. You know, you could put where did he say he was? Did he say? Oh, I never know where anybody
Cincinnati.
is. Cincinnati. He's fine in Cincinnati, right?
It's pretty temperate.
He could get away with roof vents there on top. You know, roof. They have basically hidden roof vents that integrate with your roof shingles. So you cut through the top of your roof deck and get your ventilation that way instead of down through the soffit or up through the soffit. So that's one option.
So to paraphrase, you cut a little slit between the fascia board and the roof sheathing, right?
Or sometimes higher up.
In the roof sheathing sometimes.
Yep.
Okay. And then you put this like fiberglass material that's plastic, and it prevents bugs and rodents from getting in there.
Right. So we're talking about actually probably
two different
things. One is like a fascia or like an eave vent.
So
like it looks like drip edge and everything, but it's actually a vent.
And
the other one is it's up on the roof deck, like maybe 2 feet up or whatever it might be.
Do you know who makes that particular product?
I think that Cora Vent might make the rooftop one at least. We have an article on venting an old tricky roof.
Tricking a roof to vent.
Yeah, I think I'm having problems
Same
today.
thing.
That's the better story. Can we do that one?
Tricking an old venti roof. So we can stick a link to that. This one was like an old house that had a detailed cornice, and they needed.
Can we look at that photo again, Jeff?
Yeah.
So the product I picked out is similar to what you're describing, and I picked out an air vent vented drip edge, which is what you described.
Yes. Yeah.
His roof slope is pretty shallow, right?
Yes.
So we need to keep in mind that roof venting on low slope roofs doesn't work very good generally.
Yes.
So I would be tempted, and I know this is against code in many instances, and you have to educate your inspector sometimes.
Here we go.
Don't vent it, because it's not going to work anyway.
What would you use for insulation then?
I would use dense pack cellulose.
He's making me nervous with his cellulose talk because of the way he's referring to doing loose fill in the attic and then down the rafters.
Exactly. So there's no way he's going to be able to dense pack the rafter bays with stuff let's call it consumer equipment, right?
Yes.
So you're going to need a pro to dense pack that, and you can dense pack cellulose or fiberglass or whatever. And my guess is they could probably work around the can lights with the right nozzle.
And I guess they could probably dense pack it from the attic, potentially, if there's enough room up there to walk around.
Alternatively, they could put up the insul netting and do it before the drywall goes up.
Right, or put the drywall up, poke holes in it, whatever it.
Now, folks listening are going to tell me that this is a code violation and you need to have vent chutes above fibrous insulation, right?
Yes.
And so you can write about that, but we know that.
Yes. This falls under the
off-label.
Well, not only that, but like there's a lot of successful instances of dense pack cellulose in unvented roofs.
Yes. And I think the way it works is because it has great ability to seasonally distribute moisture. And you need an airtight ceiling. That's the other thing that's key to this, to successfully dense packing without ventilation bays.
So last week I was at Building Science Summer Camp with at Building Science Corp in Massachusetts, and Joe Stiebrick, who's the owner of that company, has all these buildings on his property that he tends to build them as sort of
test facilities.
Yeah, he tries different things, and he does it kind of in the so that he can make mistakes or find things that have gone wrong without recommending it to people. But he has this one little kind of structure on the back of his property that was new to me. I hadn't seen it before, where the ceiling was still open. It was cathedral ceiling, and they had every other rafter bay was a different different way to do.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Was a different way to do a unvented cathedral ceiling, and I'm not sure if they're still working on it or if already kind of wrapped it up, but I know Brian Pontilillo is talking to them, and hopefully we're going to have something in the works where we can share some insights into
how's it working,
what works and what doesn't. And, they're testing for moisture, and
that's really cool.
It was really cool.
It's really cool.
And I want to say that cellulose was kind of the control in there, or maybe it was a flash coat with cellulose,
Right.
How many different systems was he testing?
I don't know. I mean, this was only me looking and trying I was trying to figure out what are they doing here.
Right.
Was it more than a few?
It was several.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
There were some
There
were some membranes I'd never heard of before.
So these are supposed to be vapor retarding?
That's what I assumed.
Yeah.
Is they were trying to either create vapor open setups, or maybe they were all vapor open.
Huh.
I don't know.
So in support of my advocating to dense pack the slope ceiling, Dan Colbert in Maine and Ben Bogie of the same company have been monitoring these dense packed unventilated roofs for years now, and they don't have a problem. And Maine's climate is much harder to deal with than Cincinnati. So if you can convince an installer to do that and you're a building inspector, boy, I would say that's the way to go.
Yeah, and I know that walls are different than roofs, and anybody can cringe listening to this, but I mean, we dense pack walls without worrying about that all the time. I don't know.
I would say, and if you can't afford to dense pack, and it's going to cost more than bats, is then to buy mineral wool, push it tight to the roof sheathing, which once again, you can write in, folks, that is a code violation, but make sure your ceiling is extremely airtight and there's no place for moisture to come unless you have leaks in the ceiling envelope and especially a wet crawl space, right? If you have leaks in the crawl space ceiling and they reach the way to the roof, that's when you really get rotted sheathing. Roofs themselves, it's tough to screw up because they're hot, they dry. That's the point that building scientists always make, is that hot things don't stay wet, so the likelihood of problems is greatly reduced.
Unless you have can lights.
Can lights in a wet basement. Wet basement is really the Achilles heel. So we got one more thing. I want to thank my Facebook friends for alerting me to this. I found this piece in the New York Post that describes a remodeling project where these folks found thousands of dollars worth of old cans and bottles.
Oh, that picture you have.
They were stuck in a porch column, I believe, and it amounts
Secret
to
drunk.
thousands of dollars of stuff, apparently. So if those of you who are doing remodeling projects, look around for those old cans and bottles that your predecessors tucked away.
I think you should also call on the audience to share the coolest things you found during remodeling projects.
I can do that right now.
I mean,
Full
because
skeleton.
I want to hear what the audience has.
Yes, me too.
I mean, I've certainly got a few.
We found thousands of dollars in a Habitat chimney one time. A volunteer did, and he turned it over.
My brother found a couple of grand under the stair runner in his house when he bought it, and it was right at that period of time where like the remodel was getting a little out of hand. And, it was like, thank God.
Did he tell his wife?
Yeah. Good. Well, but then you don't think about this. The reaction it had in him is, where else is money hidden?
Sure.
And then like he
tore his house apart.
Right.
Started to get a little crazy.
I love that these were hidden in a column.
Isn't that
you just
funny?
picture that.
Drop it right in there.
It's not hidden. It's garbage. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many projects I've worked on where I found old liquor bottles in the basement. They are always there. And these houses in Pittsburgh, I don't know if these guys were hiding from their wives down there and tucking away their liquor bottles, but every house had them.
And every remodeler's got the story about the used razor blades from the vanity cabinet, the bathroom cabinet. So it has to be more. It has to be more special than that when you're sending us a note.
Yeah, if it's a stack of old razor blades, we don't care. What's the best thing you found?
I like to find the old. I love the old newspaper stuff when people stick that in there for whatever reason.
Like in the insulation?
Yeah, I found some carpenter's tool. Like I found a really nice nail punch, this big heavy one.
Someone dropped it?
Yeah, I must have dropped it during in a wall cavity. And old products, like in remodeling the garage, I found like an old windshield wiper replacement blade box and like just the vintage writing on all the. Yeah. That's cool for me. I like that stuff. But not like, I found a ruby or something, It's just like old crap that I think is cool.
That's what I found.
Yeah.
Too. I've heard of people finding guns and stuff, which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks to our podcast co-hosts for joining me, and thanks to all of you for listening. Please send us your comments, questions, and suggestions to FHB Podcast at finehomebuilding.com, and please like, comment, or review us however you're listening. Thanks very much for listening.